One of the more tricky pieces of working with ourselves in the realm of personal and spiritual development is working with our shadow. So our shadow is all of the elements of us that we are unable to see. The way that this works is that we see them, but we see them in the external world. So we don't see them in ourselves. We see these traits in others. And so when we look out to the world and we're irritated by another person's behavior, or it upsets us, or we think that they should be different, a lot of times what we are looking at is our own shadow in some way. And there's an interesting twist to this, because sometimes what people hear is they don't like, say, another person's selfishness. And they think, okay, well, now I need to find that selfishness inside myself. And that is one way of working with the shadow, because we all have all traits. And if we're denying that we have a certain type of trait, then we're very likely to see this and react to this in the outside world, because we've decided that that trait is something that we shouldn't have at some point in time. So we then, when we see it in someone else, we believe that they shouldn't have it either. But there's another layer of working with the shadow, and that is that what we are also doing is we are looking at how our particular stories, issues, problems, what have you, are interplaying or interlocking with what it is that we are seeing in the outside world. So we might get irritated by a person's behavior or, have some other somewhat negative emotion. But actually what's happening is it's not so much reflecting back to us that, say, that trait is something that we have. Sometimes it is. It's also reflecting back to us the places of unconsciousness where we might be interacting with this particular type of dynamic. So it is incredibly important as we are trying to build our relationships on any level. So, whether that is a partnership or a friendship or a community, because inevitably our shadow projections are going to come out, and they tend to be the things that are most disruptive in the relational process. Because they're so in shadow, it's easy for us to go and just stay in a place of blame with, whoever it is that we're seeing has the bad behavior. So to turn this around and to begin to work with the shadow, we can, ask the simple question of where is this trait inside of me, and start to watch our behavior to see how we might be demonstrating that particular trait. Or we can look at how that trait sort of interacts with our personal story. So how we're playing a role in co-creating this behavior that we don't like, or this outcome that we don't like in relationship. So if someone acts a certain way, or we perceive that they're treating us a certain way, that what we can look at is where does my storyline, my doubts and fears, the places that I don't want to go to and I don't want to feel inside myself, how might they be interacting with this particular event? And the wonderful thing is, as we start to become better and better at looking in, shining light onto our shadow, what we are able to do is shift and transform situations, not because the situations themselves change, but because our perceptions of those situations change radically. We see opportunities where we didn't see them before. We understand how to show up differently or be different so that we can, create a whole new reality for ourselves. So that is a couple different ways of working with the shadow, and I'll be talking more about this as we go through the month.